Hi, this is Eating for Meaning. I'm Dr. Millie, naturopathic doctor. Thank you so much for joining. And it is Christmas Eve day. No, it is New Year's Eve day. And thank you so much for tuning in. I thought that I would do a quick video about how to keep yourself healthy this winter. Very important for people who are spiritually aware and conscious to be protecting themselves naturally from all sorts of things that are going on in the environment, especially, or at the least of it, viruses. And so I'm going to be talking about a few things and a few strategies to help you stay healthy this winter. And I hope you have been healthy. I hope you've been not struggling with your immune system. I'm a person who does struggle with my immune system. First of all, I do tend to burn the candle at both ends. So I tend to get up early and enjoy my day. I tend to do as many things as I can, especially around the holidays. I like to go out. I like to enjoy myself. And especially if I'm working during that time, then I can get down, right? So the first tip, and I think I'm going to try to do a little screen share so we can go back and forth between myself and okay, so how to fight a cold or a virus. So a lot of these are, I would say, wives' tales or old home remedies, but there's 3 steps to it. The first thing is prevention. You always want to prevent a cold and flu. So if you are undernourished, if you have deficiencies, especially if you have vitamin D deficiency, if you are taking any medications that are depleting your vitamin B12, or if you tend to be anemic or low in iron, then these are the first thing to start when you're addressing your immune system. If you are suffering from nutrient depletions, then your immune system is really not going to be as strong. And vitamin D helps to activate your white blood cells and helps to act like a hormone in many cases, but also helps to activate our white blood cells, our T helper cells, and our T killer cells, and helps to promote white blood cell formation and numbers and keeps our immune system strong so that when a virus does come along, vitamin D is there to help us. So there is one study showing that vitamin D is as helpful as the flu shot. Now, that might not be that impressive because the flu shot does vary in its effectiveness year to year. Personally, I am not into the flu shot for a general population, but very elderly people, it could help prevent them and keep them from dying from the flu. But um, generally, the flu is something that our bodies should be able to fight off, and we want our immune system to be strong enough that we can fight off the flu, as opposed to just giving ourselves a vaccine that might help us keep it at bay, but also putting extra components, immune stimulating components into our immune system that we will also have to process, and that could be contaminants or heavy metals, et cetera, that in the long run might not do us any good. So we want our immune system to be there, capable of fighting off a virus when it comes along. And part of that has to do with our level of nutrients and whether our immune system is ready to bounce back. Not eating foods that are making you sick. So sugar depletes the white blood cells. It lessens your body's ability to fight off infection. It feeds bacteria, and so you're more likely to have an opportunistic bacteria or a secondary bacterial infection. If you do get a virus, very commonly people will get a virus, and then they'll get run down, they'll get sick, and then if the virus lingers or if they haven't taken care of themselves or treated themselves properly while they have the virus, then they'll get a bacterial infection, which is, when you get the green mucus, and you could even feel worse than with the virus when you have a bacterial infection, and then you really are a candidate for having antibiotics or something. So it's much easier to fight off a virus at the very beginning and I titled this video, How to Fight a Virus or a Cold Within the First 24 Hours, because that really is the most important time if you're looking to prevent something. First of all, it's to be boosting your immune system throughout the winter by making sure you're getting plenty of nutrients, that you're not suffering from any deficiencies, that you're not overfeeding yourself coffee and alcohol and sugar, especially this time of year, because when we're feeding ourselves those things, then we're draining our immune system, we're making your body more tired, And plenty of rest is important because as we sleep, of course, we're repairing our system, we're repairing our immune system. And so even if you feel like you need extra sleep, like if you feel like you have something coming on and you need extra sleep, then do that, because it's not that you're lazy, it's not that there's something wrong with you, it's that your body might be fighting something and you need that extra rest and give yourself time so that you can recuperate. Be careful of your stress, because stress, first, the thoughts that go around our heads, like the worries, the thoughts, that can really drain our immune system, put strain on our immune system. And if we are dealing with putting fires out or troubleshooting other people's bad behavior or bad moods, or if we're always yelling and angry ourselves, then this really takes a lot of energy and strain. And as we know, stress makes everything worse. So if you're susceptible to a virus infection or bacterial infection or any kind of outbreak or flare up, of course, stress makes all of that worse. And so, whereas getting your sleep really can help to prevent, having too much stress can really aggravate. And then I do recommend immune boosters. I do recommend a product called Wellmune, which is beta glucans. It's beta glucans from uh, Saccharomyces cerevisiae, which is a non-candida forming yeast. You can also get beta glucans from mushrooms, from the spores of mushrooms, and it is like a sugar component, but it's been shown to stimulate macrophages, stimulate our white blood cells, improve our immune activity, and really work very effectively at boosting our immune system. Now, if you do have a condition where your immune system is overactive already, then it's possible that this is not the best nutrient for you. But usually, astragalus or um, beta glucans from nutritional yeast or from mushrooms or even mushroom formulas tend to be very good throughout the winter, as well as some other. I mentioned astragalus, which is a Chinese root, or garlic and things like that can help as well. But these tonics, these adrenal tonics, these immune tonics can help us through the whole winter long, and especially if you're likely to get sick. Echinacea is really not a good uh, herb to take throughout the whole winter. It's best to take it for short periods of time, up to 10 days. And I'll talk about a couple of my favorite herbs that help to um, nip a cold in the bud before it even gets started. But I do recommend Wellmune, and I'll put the link for Wellmune if you're interested in checking that out and interested in checking out any of the research on how beta glucans can help to raise your immune system. Put that in the link in the comment. So prevention, keeping your immune system strong, is the best way to go. Sometimes it happens. We get stressed at work. We're burning the candle at both ends. Something might happen to you, get cold, you get caught out in the snowstorm, your feet get cold, you're around somebody who's sick, all sorts of things can happen. You didn't wash your hands. I should have added hand washing and hygiene to this, because certainly keep it not too hygienic. You don't want to live in a sterile environment, because that can actually bring down our immune system. We do want, enough dirt around us. So, we don't want to be over bombarded with antimicrobial hand washes and wiping everything down, and because also we have to keep in mind that bleaches and antimicrobial cleaners and can also deplete our immune system. And so we do have to be careful with the chemicals that are in our environment. And one reason people at hospitals are so get so sick is because they're always being introduced to these kinds of chemicals, and the immune system always is having to try to fight off exposure, even if it's just vapors or gases, the fumes from bleach and cleaning agents all the time. So those are carcinogens, and we definitely know that. And anything that kills anything that's, anything that kills cells, single nutrient cells, single celled organisms, pesticides, antimicrobials, antibacterials, they do also, we've got to think about how they kind of they could kill parts of our immune system, or at least weaken them. And so, to just keep that in mind. So what happens if you do get something, if you usually when we get a cold, especially, or the flu virus or something, or a norovirus, or um, a parvovirus, usually it will start a similar way. Like whenever I know that I'm really getting sick, I might have a sniffle, but then it will go right to my throat. And if I don't stop it, then it will go to my chest. And so some people, it just stays maybe in the eyes and the nose. Their nose gets raw. But now, virus to virus can be different, but really, oftentimes you'll notice that the way you always get sick or know you're getting sick are these first initial symptoms. This is the time to catch it. And not to say, oh, I hope I don't get sick and do nothing about it. It's, oh, I hope I don't get sick. Now is the time to really bombard your system with nutrients and immune boosters and mucus clearing foods for the next 24 to 48 hours. So I labeled this talk, How to Get Rid of a Cold or Fight a Virus Within 24 Hours. And the first 24 hours are super important. So you definitely want to stay hydrated. And when I mean that, I do not mean liquids that dehydrate you. So stop the coffee, stop the black tea, stop the alcohol. Now, some people do feel a little jolt of whiskey or something can help them kind of warm up. And that could be the case. I'm not going to argue with that, but I am saying that relying on alcohol as a liquid or even a primary treatment to boost your immune system is not good, because alcohol, first of all, is sugar, so it could actually feed any bacteria and weaken your immune system in the long run. Also, of course, gives your liver more work to do so that you're working harder. Um, and so we really want to try to give our body a break during this time and really just nourish it. So you want to stay hydrated with liquids: apple cider vinegar and water, hot lemon and cayenne pepper. I've got a few. Things that I do all the time. So here I've got a hot water with fresh lemon and ginger slices and cayenne. It's strong. I could put raw honey in it, but I didn't this time. Fresh lemon, non-pasteurized lemon, preferably organic. Fresh ginger, ginger slice, does not need to be cooked. Helps to clear the mucus. Lemon helps to clear the mucus, as well as it has obviously vitamin C in it, which helps to raise your immune system. Cayenne pepper, anything that's really spicy helps to cut mucus and helps to drain our system even more, helps to break up congestion. And then garlic, of course. I did not put garlic in this, but this would be a time where I would, make a soup for myself. And I would make a soup out of if I have a bone broth lying around, or if I make a vegetarian soup, then I'll put a lot of spices in it. I'll put clove and ginger and garlic and onions and cayenne pepper, and then some root vegetables, some carrots and some beets and some turnips and some potatoes. Yesterday I made a cabbage and potato soup. I'm going to put all those spices that I mentioned in it. So you're just drinking warm broth, and then you're just relying on a lot of liquids to, first the liquids do is they allow your mucus and fluids to run clear, which and also helps your body to produce more urine, which is good, because then you're just flushing out any immune components or debris that needs to be clear, so that you're getting rid of, eliminating any waste product that's no longer needed. You're not recirculating toxins throughout your body. And so they allow you to flush and drain. And they also allow the breaking up of, especially if they're spicy liquids, they allow the breaking up of the mucus itself, so that it's not sticking, so it's not congesting, so you're not going to get a secondary sinus infection. And also, the spicy hot things help you to get hot, so that you can raise a fever, so that you give yourself a nice fever. You really do want to make yourself hot in order to fight a virus. And so you want to avoid, but I'll get to that. You want to avoid any mucus forming foods and drinks. So avoid sugar, avoid dairy, all milk. Avoid anything citrus, orange juice. People think you drink orange juice for a cold. You don't. If it's maybe a fresh squeezed orange juice, non-pasteurized, but you'd never want to do Tropicana. That just tends to irritate people, give them more congestion. All that sugar will help make the problem, will worsen the problem. You want to get your vitamin C from fresh fruit. I'm not saying don't have an orange, but watch how much fruit you're consuming at once, because that essentially will just amount to sugar and make yourself sick. So make sure that you're not putting sugar in anything, that you're not having any white flour, any white bread, any pasta, even white rice. I would say, not to, unless you're having a bout of diarrhea. And so avoid all mucus forming foods. That's anything that makes you feel congested. That could be chocolate, cake, sugar, bread, pasta, dough of any kind, yogurt, ice cream. People think that, people want comfort things when they're sick. They want their milk and all that. But really, it's a time to avoid all of that. Avoid any creamy alcohol, any creamy drinks, and eat mucus clearing foods. So I've already mentioned some of these: apple cider vinegar, unfiltered, fresh lemon juice squeezed, garlic, cayenne pepper, ginger, spicy vegetables, so radishes, turnip, um, watercress, nasturtiums, and then other spices like mustard, wasabi. Obviously, these things really help you clear out your sinuses. The more you have of these, the more, first of all, they will clear your sinuses. Second of all, they stimulate your immune system, and they break up congestion, and they make you hot. And remember, we want to get hot in order to fight a virus. What's happened to so many of us is we've taken so much Tylenol and Tempra, and we've suppressed our body of fevers. And so we barely even get a fever. And fever is a really important part of fighting any virus. And if we can't raise a fever, if we can't get hot, then the virus will linger and is less likely to turn into a bacterial infection, or the virus doesn't turn into a bacterial infection, but you can develop a bacterial infection. And it just lingers for a longer period of time. So timing is everything. Doing all of these things right away, not thinking like, oh, I'll do that tomorrow. Oh, I hope I'm going to be okay. Oh, I've got this little tickle. I'm just going to ignore it. No, you have to do things. There's another thing that we recommend in naturopathic world is called the cold wet sock treatment, or some people call it warming socks. And that is when you go to bed, you put tennis cotton socks under the cold tap, or immerse them in an ice water bath, wring them out a little bit, put them on your feet as cold as possible, and then cover them with wool socks and get into bed. And overnight, what this will do is it'll draw the congestion from your upper respiratory tract down, or even from the lungs down, and it will warm your feet. Your circulation will try to warm your feet with blood flow, and it will dry the socks overnight, and you won't be as congested in the morning. And this is amazing how this can work. Some people also put onions and garlics in their socks. Some people will put uh, ginger essential oil, or even a lavender essential oil on the bottoms of the feet. Definitely get lots of sleep. If you know you have a cold coming on, go to bed at 9 o'clock. Get your extra nap. Watching television and watching stressful movies, watching The Godfather, that does not help your immune system. Watching anything that's war and terror and violence does not help. You want to watch the most comforting. Now, maybe some people will think The Godfather is comforting. I don't know, but you want to listen to soothing classical music, relax your nervous system. Think of yourself like a baby. I didn't put it on here, but you really want to treat yourself like you just want to lull yourself, so that you're surrounded by just beauty and calm. And that's the best way. And then that'll also calm down your mind so that you're not worrying. Because if you're worried that you're getting sick, or being like, I don't want to get sick, I don't want to get sick, I don't want to get sick, then that's really not going to help you. That's probably just going to, you don't think of pink elephants, right? The first thing you do is you think of pink elephants. So if you say you don't want to, the subconscious doesn't really recognize not wanting. All they hear is want sick. And so you kind of sabotage yourself by worrying about that. If you think of yourself as, I'm healthy, I'm free, I'm joyful, I'm happy, I'm recovered, my immune system is working, you can do that kind of meditation. And then you can, that will help you recover. I put poultices down here because poultices made out of mustard or onions can really help, especially with clearing congestion. My mother used to put raw garlic on our chest, or maybe in a sock on our chest, so that we breathed in the garlic. And then that helped clear our passages and also improved our immune system. And so especially at night, right? Because that's when the congestion really pools and you really suffer from not being able to breathe properly. And if you're not sleeping, then your body's not going to heal, and then you can get worse. And so putting a nice poultice, if you really have like a bronchial infection, or you're feeling it in your chest, then you could make a plaster out of mustard powder, or even grated horseradish and a little water, and just kind of paint it on your chest. And I do be careful if you're doing this on little ones. You might want to put a barrier of coconut oil first, so that the mustard itself is not burning your skin. So you do want to play with this a little bit, so that do a patch test so that you know what you're doing. But this can be really effective. Or you can just put onions or raw onions or garlic in socks, and sleep with it on your chest, kind of like a hot water bottle. Um, And again, generate a fever. Definitely get hot. If you've gotten cold and gotten sick, warm yourself right up. Sit by the fire, dress in layers, wear wool sweaters, drink hot beverages, hot soups, hot liquids, hot and then spicy. Now, something like coffee is considered hot. Like in Chinese medicine, it's considered, or alcohol is considered hot. And even if they're not hot temperature, they're hot in terms of how they're generating heat in the body. And they're actually too hot, because when something's too hot, then the body responds by making cold. And so that's like too hot. But you do want hot teas with like leaves in it. So that could be like yarrow to cut your fever, or it could be um, olive leaf extract. That's one of my favorite antivirals. Now, some people use echinacea. Now, keep in mind, if you use herbal antivirals, you have to do it a lot. You have to take them every hour to 2 hours for 24 to 48 hours. Don't wake yourself up to take them, but you have to take them a lot. Taking echinacea once or twice a day, if you really have a cold coming on, is not going to work. So don't fool yourself into thinking that that's enough. If I'm going to take either the Wellmune, my vitamin D, boost up on my vitamin C and zinc, and the Wellmune actually has vitamin C and zinc. If I'm gonna take that every 2 hours, a capful of it in water every 2 hours. I'm gonna take 18 capsules of olive leaf extract. Now keep in mind, if it's a kid, then it's half as much, half the dose, but you need to give yourself a lot in order for it to really work. So this might be, tripling, quadrupling, quintupling what the directions say. The directions for dietary supplements and herbs are always really conservative. If you have questions, I'm not recommending taking toxic things, but if you have questions, consult me, consult your health practitioner. Do your thorough research. But I'm just saying that it does take enough. Like, you do have to be taking a therapeutic dose of something in order for it to work, in order to zap the cold. Do not expect something to work if you're going to take 1 capsule, 2 capsules, something like that. Elderberry can really help also, especially for little kids. Osha mushrooms. So there's lots of different herbs that can help, and people tend to respond to different herbs. The same one herb doesn't necessarily work for everybody, and this is just a reality of natural medicine. And so when you do find an herb that really works for you, like for me personally, olive leaf extract works way better than echinacea, and so I don't take echinacea. I might take andrographis if I feel like there's a bacterial component to it. Rarely do I take golden seal, maybe, but some people do silver, colloidal silver. I don't. It's really an antibiotic. Then you have to take probiotics. So if you're also taking an antibacterial, like if you're taking andrographis, if you're taking golden seal, if you're taking colloidal silver, do keep in mind that those are also antibacterials, and so you will have to reboost your good bacteria. Taking something fermented while you're sick can also help, especially if you have stomach issues. So taking kombucha, but be careful about the amount of sugar in these types of foods, because those can just feed bacteria. So generating a fever is really, really helpful and essential, and especially if you're not somebody who mounts a fever. Now, people are afraid of fevers. It's been something that's been conditioned to us. A fever is a natural response the body has. It's a natural immune response, because viruses can't survive in 100 temperature environment. And so viruses thrive at a lower body temperature, a normal body temperature. And so you're essentially cooking a virus if you're allowing yourself, if you're generating a fever for yourself. So fevers kill viruses. They also kill bacteria. Same thing. You think you cook food, you kill bacteria. Same thing. You heat yourself, you heat your body, you kill a fever and you kill a bacteria. If your body does not mount the fever, then the virus can linger on and it can become worse. And then you're more likely to get a secondary bacterial infection. So you really have to keep yourself warm. You really have to, with all these ways that I've been repeating over and over like a broken record, if you want to go to the sauna, if you want to bundle up, if you want, and I do not recommend strenuous exercise. Strenuous exercise when you have a cold or a flu is just too straining for the immune system. It's not appropriate. But if you can do gentle restorative yoga, or if you can do, um, a little bit of time or a bunch of time in the sauna or the hot tub, but make sure you don't get cold afterwards. Make sure you keep yourself bundled and warm. And if you can break a sweat, you can break you can break your fever naturally. Now, if children have fevers and they're uncomfortable, especially babies, are crying, then a way to reduce a fever naturally is to put them in a tepid bath and with a drop of peppermint oil, and you can give them a little bit of peppermint tea, and that causes a sweat. And when you when you cause a sweat, then you actually cool down the body naturally without suppressing the fever. When we suppress the fever with Tylenol or Tempro, we're forcing the immune system to not respond and not keep ourselves from protecting our own self. So we keep our immune system not working, so the immune system is weaker, doesn't have as much effect. Fevers are not dangerous. Fevers for babies, if there's a high fever, or for older people, fevers can be dangerous in that they may cause dehydration because we need more fluids. So if somebody's not drinking, then the combination of not drinking and a fever can be bad, because then we can have dehydration. But the fever itself is a beneficial act. It can be scary because if a person, especially a child, has a seizure, a febrile seizure. Now, technically, febrile seizures are also not dangerous. They're just scary for the parents to watch. And you, as I mentioned, you can bring a fever down by putting the child in a bath, giving the child peppermint tea, giving the child yarrow and elderberry. Elderberry tastes delicious, and those are great for the fever. Now, if you're worried, of course, you always want to take your child to the doctor. This is just general discussion and general education. I'm not making a recommendation on anybody to not follow your instinct. You also always want to do what's best for your child, especially if your child is not responding and is unhappy and crying, and or even not. I mean, my sister Amita, she had meningitis when she was 6 months old, and she was in the hospital for a long time. So you really do have to be careful, because it could always be something worse. It might not just be a fever, right? And so but that's different, because that's a bacteria, and that definitely can cause problems. I'm not trying to reduce any severity of any potential illness here. We're just talking about that the fever in and of itself is not dangerous. Febrile seizures can be scary. So it's not that we want to let the fever go up to 105. It's just that we want to work within our comfort zone, but also be reasonable and know that this is something that the body's doing to fight its own illness, and to try to regenerate health and restore health. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Attitude is not everything. Attitude is a lot. So don't let yourself get down and out by being sick. Attitude is not everything, but attitude accounts for a lot. If you think you're sick, if you think you're going to be sick and miserable, if you think that this is going to last, then it probably will be. Whereas if you can take the initiative and fight it on your own, then and give yourself the break that you need to, then you will recover a lot faster, and you will have a healthier year, a healthier season. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this. Leave me any comments. No spam.